think we're live. Yes, we are. Okay, let me just confirm this on my cell phone, making sure that everything is good. And we should be fine here. We should be good. Oh, here we are. Okay, perfect. Okay, well, first of all, welcome to day 72. Before you know it, folks, we're going to be going on day 90. And in fact, 90 may fall into a weekend, whatever that happens. But I want to wish you good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are dialing in around the world. And again, just to remind you that this group is the Crown Diamond Global Impact. What we're doing is we're summarizing the 90-day run, the 90-day special run with Frazer Brookes. These are the things that we are getting from the accelerator program that was offered back in December of last year and that initiated in January in 2023, which we started a session on January 4th. Okay. And I hope that you're learning a lot from this. And as a matter of fact, today we're going to do a deeper dive into the concept of the hook, the story, and the offer. But what's really important here as you are applying yourselves, and by the way, we love thumbs ups. We love when you click the like button or even the heart button. We appreciate your comment, your feedback. This is important, right? There's a lot of work that go behind the scene, and when you are acknowledging some of the information that we provide, it just gives us this sense of appreciation, and we really do appreciate it. And that applies for all the speakers. We're talking about Ann Turnbull, we're talking about Dr. James and Tammy and Webmaster William and myself. We do appreciate your feedback. We do appreciate the information that you share. Now, go back to the point of today, talking about your hook, your story, and the offer. What's really important here is determine your daily method of operation. Figure out among everything you've learned here what is more comfortable for you and apply it in your daily method of operation. If you're doing, for example, Facebook Live, I prefer Facebook Live than Instagram Live. But from time to time, I will do Instagram Live. But I can tell you that every week on Sunday, for example, at 1 o'clock, Tammy and I started a Q&A session. Well, it actually deviates from what we've learned here. And we do a Q&A session with Chris and Tammy. It goes for about 5 minutes, 3 minutes, sometimes a little bit longer, depending on the topic that we're into. But that's something we do every single Sundays. And there's a lot of other things that we're also doing. I'll spare the details here, but the point here that's important is not necessarily what I'm doing, what we're doing, but is for you to develop your daily method of operation. And what's important is to have some structure. Have some structure in your strategy, right? I know if you're like me at one point, I mean, that's what I used to do. Whenever I felt like saying something or doing something, boom, let's do a live. And that's cool. But if you want people to follow you, there has to be a sequence that are following something else that you did, which will end up in some kind of a result that you're looking for, right? Because you're not just doing this for the heck of it. Obviously, you're probably trying to acquire some customers. Maybe you're trying to sponsor some associates into your business and get some new leads to build your business, whatever that is. Okay, so remember that the structure, again, it is the hook, it is a story, and then the offer. Now, what you need to do is to figure out your hook. And one thing that I do recommend, and that was shared also by Frazer, is go through. Now, be careful. When you grab your phone, if I may suggest this, it's connected. It needs to be charged. If you grab your phone in the morning, ask yourself, why am I grabbing my phone? Or are you just responding out of a habit or grabbing your phone just because you're curious without any specific agenda? Because you can spend an enormous amount of time scrolling, wasting your time. So ask yourself, why am I grabbing my phone and what's my goal here? And I do recommend for you to do that. Otherwise, you're going to waste an enormous amount of time and energy on things that are absolutely have nothing to do with your life. You're just giving it away, right? You're burning your time. Right? So be mindful of that. So, but why am I saying this? is when I suggest for you to grab your phone, for example, and you start scrolling through stories, which is either on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook, whatever that is, or YouTube. Um, Start paying attention to the hook that they have. You know, the hook of their message of on the title itself, right? And you'll find, for example, something that Tammy and I do is here's Kristen and Tammy here coming live from Daytona Beach, right? We're starting to create a model around that, a brand around that. You know, as a couple, Tammy and I have been building this business as a couple. We've been doing this for as long as we can remember, and people are recognizing, oh, that's Kristen and Tammy coming to you live from Daytona Beach, right? So what's happening is you want to have your message, your hook, that people recognize you from. You know, every time you're actually posting something, people tend to connect to familiarity. That's what McDonald's did so well. It's not just because of the hamburgers. It's not the actual product. It's the brand that they create. It doesn't matter where they are around the world. You know it's McDonald's, right? I'm not using that as an example for nutritional aspect here. Just an example as branding, which they absolutely mastered, right? Another thing that's really good. I mean, for me, I'll be honest. When it comes to writing, this is not my skill, right? Even my notes. Often I'm just going to cut and paste my notes, and it hasn't really been kind of rewritten, and it's just because there's so much thing I have to do. But it's just not my forte. So something that you can do, and this is something I just found recently, there is a hack to actually write content where you can actually speak to your phone, right, and record yourself, and you can upload this recording and have it transcribed into text. And there's a site. Now, I'm not saying that you need to go there or you need to use that. It's just a suggestion. And I bet you there's tons of other tools available that are probably even more cost effective. But considering the level of professionalism they bring to you, it's actually quite inexpensive when you look at even writing a book, right? Just by actually writing your content and having it transcribed, right? It could be, 50 cents a minute, $1 a minute, whatever this may be. But you can turn around and write a book for like $150, which I know I spent about $30,000 writing our book, Freedom Formula, right? Because there was a lot of support behind that. But this technology did not exist. So that's what I mean. It's inexpensive. So it depends on what context you're looking at. But if you're looking for a hack to take some of your voice recording on content and you want to have it transcribed, you can use it. Another thing that you can do is you can use, for example, use your YouTube, your Zoom session, right? And you record it on the cloud, right? And as you are talking, many of you have probably noticed that it creates a transcription to what it is you just said. That could be another way to do this, right? So again, these are things that you can use, but rev.com is something that gives you an absolute professional content, right? And it converts anything into text. So that's a hack that you may want to utilize. And if you're not that great in transcribing, words into a document. And again, that applies for, like I said, for people who have challenging writing and, like I said, this has just not been my forte, but I have great ideas, right? I have some content. If you've been to, for example, my Instagram handle, which is chrisgingras.activeteamgroup, for example, that's the one that has to do with our business. Another one is Chris and Tammy, right? That's another handle. That's the brand that Tammy and I are doing. You can check this out, some of the things we're doing. And what we did is I pick a few point form topics that matters to me in reference to mindset. At one point we did a video on the beach. What's the difference between mindsight and eyesight? I don't know if you remember this, right? So this really captured a lot of attention. People that haven't spoken in years, even old mentors, came back to me and says, "Oh, wow, that's interesting." Right? Because mind sight and eyesight. And we started explaining, and that was the content, right? So that was the title. That's an interesting title. That was, it kind of hooked people to check it out. And then the story itself was the content itself. And that's what's very important in moving into the story. See, your caption is very, very, very important. But in your story, for example, in YouTube, you can go up to 5,000 words. And in fact, the more words you have, the better. Because through the search engine, it's going to find all these words and you may rank a bit higher if a lot of the words are actually part of, let's say, the caption on your comment section, right? When it comes to a story that you're sharing on YouTube, right? And then from there, when you're sharing your content, then it could certainly have a variation of that. Now, the fact is, if using, for example, Facebook, the captions can go up to 5 paragraph, about up to that, right? For example, Instagram, it's a little less, and TikTok, it's much less, right? So, and it's because it depends on the functionality and what you're using the app for and the message for. But here's something that's important. If I use, for example, Facebook as an example, if you write a higher caption that will get lower engagement. So what's going on is if there's a lot of written and really thought through information there, and there's a lot to read, what's going to happen is you have a lower response. Okay, the response will not be as engaged, right? But you'll have a higher quality of responses. If there's a lot more content to read, you won't be as popular, you won't be as engaged, you won't be as much engagement, it will be lower engagement, but you have higher quality. And when they respond, they may actually give you, a bit of a block of text that is relative to what it is you wrote. If your caption, for example, is lower, then the engagement is higher, right? People don't like to read, they tend just to watch the video. But you'll have a broader range of people, which will reduce the quality of the response that you'll get, right? So that's kind of the difference, where you may just get just some emojis and a little comment with an emoji, opposed to a paragraph that will actually describe what it means to them in reference to your post, what it is that you're sharing. Okay, so that's all part of your story. So you want to engage people, and the other thing that's important, as you want to take note, is that some people say, well, how long should your video be? Well, your video can never be long enough if you are interesting. But 7 seconds can be long enough if you're boring. You know what I mean? Right? There's some moments where I'm super boring, but it could be other moments where I'm interesting. But I tend to keep my stories very short, and I find I get more engagement. But something is that, like I said, is keep in mind if you have good content, because sometimes I'm going to watch a video of someone, especially when it talks about politics and economy. I'm actually very curious, to see the variety of what comes out, and you see the consistency of different people sharing, and and when you start seeing a message share about 5 or 6 times from different sources that are cross-referencing, saying the same thing, you realize, oh, maybe I'm onto something. I tend to spend more time because I'm interested. So it doesn't matter how long these be. I will actually listen to the end. But in some cases, if it's not something I'm interested in, but let's say, I don't know, they look good, they sound good, I may check it out. But if it's more than 7-10 seconds, I'll skip right through it. You see what I mean? So just to understand that, you have to judge and determine based on your response. And the way you know that is by doing your videos and testing and trying and trying and testing, right? And one thing that's an example that could be very important here is, think of it, you watching Netflix. I was laughing when Frazer was talking about this, because sometimes I can spend 20 minutes just kind of looking around and try to find something I'm looking to. Where do I want to spend my time looking at? You're going through this. I don't know if I want to spend my time, watching something that has absolutely nothing, no value to me. So you go through it, and sometimes you pick something because, the captions sound interesting, whatever title is there. And I start watching it. Within 10 minutes, that's freaking boring. I stop the session. I look for something else, spend another 5-10 minutes. So well, this is what happened when people are going through social media. It's exactly that. And some people will be interested in what you have to say, and some people won't. But the only way to find out what works is to keep posting, keep sharing. Okay? And my recommendation is keep your video shorter and to the point until you start getting more engagement. Right? So that's the thing. And the other thing is, once you're sharing your story, and this is, I know I'm guilty of that too, is you want to create an offer, and the offer could vary in so many different ways, right? So you have the hook, that caught your attention. Oh, that sounds like an interesting movie to watch. Okay. And then you have the story and it says, oh, cool. Okay. I love what's going on here. That sounds phenomenal. For example, there's this series that I'm watching about this young doctor who is an autistic doctor, but he's learned to interact with the world, but his communication with others is not that great. But his brain is just to die for. It's just brilliant the way his brain works and the way he analyzes the world, right? He sees things just like there's 20 books open and he has all the information just around him and choose the one that's appropriate with whatever problem he's trying to solve. I mean, who would want to have that? So that caught my curiosity. That caught my attention because I always value people who, people's brain that are just absolutely brilliant, and that piques my interest. So the story got me interested. Okay. But what's happening here is at the end of the day, once you've done the hook and you shared your story, it is the content itself. I'm going to give you the dare in a minute here, but it's the offer that you're giving people. Okay. And the offer has to be in line with the story that you are sharing. Very important. If you're selling something or talking to something that's really cool, like I don't know, you just took like a joke of some kind that you're just sharing, and then you turn around and is DM me for more information, DM me for when to do business with me. There's no correlation. There's no, it doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? And that's one of the reasons why people may or may not follow you. So you want to have a consistent follow through as you have the hook, you have your story, and then you have your offer. This is something that's very important. For example, I have a TikTok personal one, and you can check it out. And if you look for Chris Gingras, I think that's the handle, whatever. And then from there, I share. I'm a 50-year-old man, and I'm training regularly, like 20-year-old, and I'll have a few capsules in there, and it's showing about 1 minute to 2 minutes of me training, sometime with my wife, right? And one thing that you can say at the end as an offer is DM me DM me for some more tips on how a 57-year-old can move like a 20-year-old. I can tell you right now, there's a lot of folks that are in my age group that are having a hard time moving around, right? Due to decisions they made, nutrition, and so forth. And they may or may not be interested, but a lot of people may. Direct message me, DM me for some more tips or some tips on how a 57-year-old like me can move like a 20-year-old. And from there, if I get the message, when I do get the message, by the way, I can respond to them. This is what I'm taking. And we're in Max here. I would talk about the Salgivity. I would talk about the ribosine. I would talk about the Max 1. So in conclusion, here is the dare. What you want to do is you want to do a hook, a story, and you want obviously have the offer, but you want to post it. And that's either a story, a live, a reel, or a bunch of stories, whatever that is. And whatever platform you choose to use, that it's either Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or LinkedIn or whatever works for you. It could be YouTube, whatever that is. Okay. The fact here is apply yourself in doing the post, again, with the hook, the story, and the offer, using one of those. And if you're brave, come back to this group and post it here so we can see it out, right? And the fact here is just use the platform that you feel is most appropriate for you. I like Facebook. Maybe I'm an old guy. I'm just used to Facebook. But I like also Instagram. But for Instagram, I have different things. One thing that I do is, for example, is I do segments of my presentation. I don't know if you noticed that lately. Okay, if you go to chrisjangros.activeteamgroup, that's my handle there. And you'll notice lately, I took segments of 57 seconds, a minute 10 seconds, a minute 5 seconds. And it's actually a segment that I did in presentations. In fact, I'm doing one today at 2 o'clock. Long story short, I take little segments of that when it comes to, for example, glutathione or the importance of reducing inflammation. As you increase glutathione, inflammation is directly proportional, reversed, right? As you increase glutathione, your inflammation goes down. If your glutathione goes down, your inflammation goes up. Your body is not in a state to heal. And it's catching attention. You see what I'm saying? So it doesn't always have to be live. It could be segments that you've done that you can upload as a reel. But the thing is, get going, get good, and get smart. In other words, improved by keep doing the activities. That's what's really, really, really important here. So I took 20 minutes. I took a little bit longer. Usually I like to keep it 15 minutes or so, but I felt that it was important. So keep in mind, again, we dove deeper a little bit into the concept of the hook, the story, and the offer. And folks, what's important is just get started. Just get started. And as you get started, you'll get better at it. You'll get good at it. And you'll improve on it. You'll get smarter in the process. So it comes to the end of this session here. I hope the information was good. And again, folks, don't forget to like. Don't forget to give us some heart. Be generous with your hearts and your likes. And feel free to comment. Let us know if this information was helpful for you. It's always helpful for us to know that you appreciate what we share. So have yourself a wonderful, wonderful time. And tomorrow you'll be sharing, you'll be hearing from Tammy. And we look forward to continue on the following week. Remember, we're on day 72 here. Next thing you know, we're done. I figure we have less than 3 weeks, right? So there's about 5 more segments of this and 3 or 4 more segments of that. And that's it. That's all. About 3. Okay. So have yourself a great day. Love you guys. Take care.